Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 16, the Pau Gasol episode of Sitting Courtside. My name is Dante.
It's your boy Jerry D, man.
And we are back with more NBA basketball content. We have some updates on the in-season tournament, some new storylines going around throughout the league, some trending topics, some players to talk about, some teams to talk about. Very excited to get into it. Jerry, how you doing today? How you ready to talk some ball?
Oh yeah, always down, man. Especially, I've been waiting for this moment since we started this thing, man. The Pau Gasol episode.
Yes,
the real
finally, baby. Come on, yeah. This is peak Sitting Courtside right here. The Pau Gasol episode for sure.
How about you, man? Everything smooth sailing? We good? You ready?
Everything's smooth. Everything's ready to go. We're gonna talk some. The first topic we'll get into. We're going to talk about the Indiana Pacers and how they defeated my Boston Celtics to make it to the semifinals or the quarterfinals, semifinals. I'm getting mixed up. Semifinals of the NBA in-season tournament. The Indiana Pacers. Let's just talk about the guy at the top of the helm here for the Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton. He has been on absolute tear. I was going to say like the last X amount of games, but he's been on a tear this season. He has really been turning heads. Like, obviously people knew who he was before and stuff. People have heard about Tyrese Haliburton, but now people are really starting to know who Tyrese Haliburton is. And it's funny, I actually saw this tweet before. Last night's game against the Celtics was only his second televised game ever, which I think in Indiana, I guess that makes sense, but it's kind of crazy to think about. Tyrese Haliburton
on TNT at that.
Yeah, right. And I'm looking over his stats right here, right? So last night, he had a triple-double against the Celtics, 26, 13, and 10.
His first triple-double.
First ever triple-double. And the best time to do it, right? The best time to have a triple-double. Yeah, triple-double last night. Then he fought before that. He had 44, 10, and 2, 33, 9, and 2, 26 and 10, 33 and 16 and 37 and 16. This guy is putting up insane. What's the nickname you have for him, Jerry?
Divine Dime.
Divine Dime. He is backing that up, Jerry. Just talk about Tyrese Haliburton. Just tell me what you've seen from him. Is this something you've expected? Is this something that's shocking you? Just talk to me about Tyrese.
I just want to go on the record saying that I know that everybody said that's been an even trade, probably one of the most even trades ever, with him and Sabonis being swapped out for one another. But I really don't like. It makes sense. Like, Sabonis is no scrub, like an all-star caliber player as well. But like, damn it, this dude is the head of the snake. He is the franchise player when Sabonis is a franchise cornerstone for a really important piece on a good team. But Tyrese Haliburton is the piece on a good team. So it's just being a featured option, being able to make any decision that he wants, being given the keys by a veteran coach in Rick Carlisle, who all of us already had a lot of question marks about. Why the hell did they extend him in the offseason?
I didn't even know he was coaching the Pacers at the beginning of the year.
Exactly. I was just so confused because they had a rough season. Yes, they had flashes where they looked good and the offense looked okay, but I don't think anybody really predicted this kind of leap, this kind of jump. But I don't think we should be surprised by it. I mean, I think he should have been a higher pick in the 2020 draft. Probably should have been a top 5 guy if you do it all over. So.
Yep.
Overall, I'm just happy to see that another guard is emerging, because this is a very guard heavy league. And in order to be a good team, you have to have a featured guard in pretty much any system, which is what put the Nuggets over the top last year with Jamal Murray finally being healthy. Obviously, we know Steph Curry's been a huge piece, and hell, across the West, you got Ja Morant coming back whenever he does. SGA, it's a thick position. Just with how many guards you have to have to
Shadow Kyle Lowry. Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's it is crazy because there's so much talent at that guard position, right, in the NBA, and Tyrese Haliburton is starting to he's starting to include himself in those conversations and stuff like that, which is very hard to do, like because there is so much talent and it's hard to kind of put yourself in that echelon, that upper echelon of guards. And it
Mm-hmm.
seems like Tyrese Haliburton is putting him, he is putting himself in that conversation, putting himself in these talks of like some of the best guards in the league. This year, he is averaging 26.9 points, 11.9 assists on 67% true shooting percentage.
See,
That's
insane.
that's really fucking good. That's really
And like
fucking good.
to kind of even add to that, there's only two guys right now that are averaging 20 and 10, and he's one of them along with Trae Young. So Trae Young has done it a couple times already, but
Mm-hmm.
now we have another guy in Tyrese Haliburton that's going to be right there, probably competing for an assist title every single season.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing too, and we talk about this like with guards and players and like how this benefits them. He's 6'5".
Yes,
He's a big guard. It's not like he's just like this, like a Trae Young type of build, right? Like, no, this guy he can hold his own on all sides of the court. Like he is. The Pacers got a good one. Let's put it that way. Like I get, like you're right. Like that trade at the time. Well, at the time, people were very like pissed about it. It was very controversial. Then after a little bit, it was like, oh, like Pacers got their guy, Kings got their guy. Kings with a third seed, made it to the playoffs for the first time in X amount of years, whatever. But now, even though Sabonis still great, he is like he's all-star caliber player, like you said, and the Kings are, still looking great and they're benefiting from that trade, absolutely. But it's kind of like like you said, you traded away a guy that you could build a team around for a guy that is just a part of a good team, right? Yeah. And that's fine. But like you did trade away a guy that you could have built around, and he is a guy too. When he got traded, he was like, I wanted to help this city win. I wanted to bring them to the playoffs. Like he's a guy that you would have wanted to build around. But obviously that didn't work out. He's in Indiana. He has that fire lit under him now, which I also think is maybe a motivating factor into why he's playing this way. Has that chip on his shoulder. But moving on from Haliburton really quick and sticking on to the team that he's on, the Pacers, who are currently sitting at 11-8, 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. Do you think they're going to sustain? Do you think that they're going to be a playoff team, like no playing, or do you think they're going to kind of float around a little bit, maybe dip in the rankings in the power conference seeding, or go up? Where do you think the Pacers are going to finish?
That's the tricky part. I mean, I think we all know who are the top two teams, even though they beat the Celtics in the in-season tournament.
Right.
We're not going to pick them in a 7-game series against like a Boston or even a Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. So with those two teams solidified at the top, I think there is a perch for like who's going to be that next guy in. Like, yeah, maybe you say Philadelphia, but I still feel like they're figuring out some of the kinks with their squad. Cleveland is still a question mark in my mind. New York is still a question mark.
They're figuring it out. Mm-hmm.
But they could definitely slide themselves in to that 3 to 6 position, but
they could be a Kings. They could be like the Kings of last year in a way.
And that's actually kind of scary to me though, because my main issue with the Kings last year in the playoffs, and we saw it in that 7-game series with the Warriors, they can't stop anybody. They could score with the best of them. They had the best offensive efficiency rating ever. I think the Pacers are on the same exact track where, hell, I looked it up a little bit ago. They had 8 guys that scored in double figures.
Yeah. I think they had going into the game, they were second in offensive rating and like 29th in defensive rating. Yeah. It couldn't have been more opposite of each other.
Exactly. And that's pretty much my closing point. I don't know. I feel like they'll be a playing team because they can't stop a soul on defense. But in their defense, this is an offensive-centric league. Can you score with us? Can you keep up? Because what we saw against Boston was a track race. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum had 30 apiece, I believe. But, again, the Pacers are a collective scoring unit. So they just kind of outflooded them. Aaron Nesmith got involved. Tyrese Haliburton got involved. Buddy Hield.
Aaron Nesmith revenge game. Listen, Kevin Durant said it. Offense wins championships.
I'm not talking about this shit.
But it is fun. It is cool seeing a team like the Pacers, having this hot start to the year, having excitement in Indiana with Tyrese Haliburton and stuff. It's been fun to watch them, and I think they'll end up being a play-in team. They have a good batch of guys like Haliburton, Hield, Neesmith, Obi Toppin, Miles Turner. Like they have a collective of guys. I know I didn't name everyone, but they're good enough to be competitive. I think. I
Yeah.
think in a 7-game series, I do think that they're a team that could win a few games. I don't think they could win a series depending on who they play. Me and my buddy were actually talking about this yesterday during the Celtics game. And he said we were talking about the Pacers and if they were going to be good or whatever. He says he says they actually remind him a lot of the Grizzlies, where you can't take them serious because like last night you were watching the game and they would just have like just seeing how the Pacers would react when they would have like just like a crazy dunk or a high scoring play or a three or something like that. Like they would just go absolutely crazy and stuff like that. Well, you saw like on the other side, like Boston, when they hit a big shot, they're more composed and stuff. It kind of like, I understood where he was coming from because this Pacers team is kind of young in a way. They have younger players there. So maybe it's like, they need to get that experience. They need to be quote unquote humbled, make it to the playoffs, taste that, feeling of getting there, defeat all that stuff, and that'll kind of put them in a more mature light, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the rest of the season is going to go for them because I think they got something. I just don't know if it's enough to really make that much noise.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm really crazy about the Grizzlies comparison. I mean,
Yeah, I was definitely like I understood where he was coming from, but I was like I don't know. I don't know if it's the same.
nah. I mean, like it's a young team. I wouldn't really count just because you're getting hype after every single play that happens. I really wouldn't like use that as a measuring stick to be like, oh, they're not ready to win. No, you
Yeah.
just like having a good time. Like the Lakers, when things happen for LA, like everybody goes crazy. LeBron hits a
Mhm.
360 layup. He's 40. So it's like, wow, that's
Yeah, right.
amazing. AD has a
When
monster dunk in traffic. Like that's dope. Jason Tatum, like I've seen him have several like highlight plays, a big time mid range shot to kind of cut
mhm,
that lead to 3 or whatever it was. And everybody on the bench is reacting. Like
right.
I wouldn't
I
really put
think
too much
I
stock.
think the other thing too is like obviously with the in season tournament, there's a cash prize of $500,000, I believe, or
There are
whatever it is.
stakes. Yep.
And on the Pacers, like a handful of guys on the roster, like barely make like minimum contracts or whatever. So to these guys, those guys that were going crazy were probably the ones that don't make that much money. Like, oh, we're getting closer and closer to that 500K. You know what I mean? So I was like, they're probably just also in season tournaments, just different vibe and stuff. So,
You know what?
but
Shout out to Adam Silver, man. Like you,
mm,
as a former athlete, and you could probably relate to this as well. When there are stakes involved, when there's something to win at the end, for me, it used to be a medal at the end of the tournament, or a better record, or some type of reward. You get the best out of me. So
mm-hmm,
imagine doing it for pro athletes who are basketball players who've been playing, and the team like the Pacers, they're probably not going to be there at the end of the tunnel in the regular season, right? Like
right, exactly.
talking about them competing for a Larry O'Brien trophy, that's probably not going to happen. So I'm going to treat this like it's my NBA Finals. Because guess what? This is what's happening right now. And hell, like I know we have a good shot to win this because it's single elimination. There is no
Right.
you get to go prep and prepare for like what we're going to do this series and blah blah blah. No, we get one game. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
football style kind of playoff. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, no, like we've talked about. I think the in-season tournament was a great addition. I do think that there are some tweaks that should and will be made in the future, but for what it is now, I think the NBA they nailed it. And just before we move on from this, I was looking up tweets of Tyrese Haliburton. I was looking for the stat line that like for the in-season tournament what he was averaging, but it was similar to what his normal season stat line is. But to open the season, Tyrese Haliburton was plus 10,000 to win MVP, and now he is plus 2,200. So he has made a big jump in the MVP race. So we'll see how that plays out too. I can imagine he's got to be top 10 MVP candidate at this point. I can't imagine he's not in there. It'll be fun to see how he kind of moves around that list throughout the year. But all right, let's move on to the next. Continuing on the in-season tournament, not only did the Pacers win last night, but the New Orleans Pelicans defeated the who they defeat. They defeated the Sacramento Kings to make it to the semifinals of the in-season tournament. I think the next games that we have, I know Lakers and Suns are playing. So we have Lakers and Suns and then Knicks and Bucks tonight to fill out the rest of the semifinals. Jerry, you had the Pacers winning the in-season tournament. So far you're looking good. I had the Kings, so I am not looking good. I'm out.
It's I mean, like the Pacers and Kings game, it was like nip and tuck most of it. I mean, hell, the Kings got off to like I think a 14-4 start or whatever it was. So things look good, but the Pelicans, man, they just been rolling. Brandon Ingram getting in a nice groove. Zion, just it was a rough game for him last night, and I'm starting to see like teams just figure out how to guard him, just build that wall, and like just kind of seal him off from making a play in the paint and make him force it out to whatever type of shooter, and they close out. So I think Zion's too easy to guard because he's not quite in basketball shape yet.
Sure.
Even though he's had like several 25 and 5 assists, 5 rebound games, but I still don't think we're seeing the best version of Zion quite yet.
I mean, he even said a few weeks ago, or it was like a week or so ago, where he was talking about how he was just trying to fit in and like find his role on this team and stuff. I mean, I'm looking at the stat line from last night. He only had 8 shots. He had the least shots out of all the starters. I think obviously the Pelicans won, so they did what they had to do to defeat the Kings. But Zion definitely has to figure out how to adjust and fit into this team. When you're out for so long with injuries, you kind of miss out on the opportunity to gain this chemistry with your teammates, to kind of find your solidified role within a team. And he hasn't been able to really do that yet. So as the season goes on, do you think that that's something that they'll figure out? Do you think it's something that's going to be kind of like he's just always kind of going to be struggling? Maybe he sits out with more injuries, whatever it may be from. Do you think this is something that they'll figure out, or is this going to be a problem moving forward?
No, I think this is definitely something they'll figure out. I mean, we talked about this on this pod before about them being a 1 seed last year and how good they were and how like a much of a dark horse contender they could have been because of Zion. So, I mean, the potential is there. We know that the team fits because they didn't make any major trades or pieces were added to the team. It's still, B.I., C.J. McCollum, Trey Murphy's a really good player, Jonas Valanciunas, like Herb Jones. They have a good group of guys.
They do.
And they could really get to this next level. But he's going to be the key for them to actually compete for something real towards the end of the season. So I think they figure it out. I mean, he's a really good player. I think Willie Green might have to get a little more creative with him on offense. Maybe not making him that primary ball handler, bringing it up the court and just trying to crash into the defense all the time. I think we probably need to mix up some schemes there and see what we can do with Zion, moving him around the court, maybe getting into some off-ball screens for backdoor cuts, whatever it is. Just stuff to get him rolling. Maybe we work on a mid-range J. I think they're going to be fine, and he's going to be fine. It's going to take some time. I mean, I still don't think he's in basketball shape yet. He still looks a little
you definitely can tell that he lost some weight, got into better shape for sure. I mean, I don't know if it could have been worse. But yeah, definitely something that they need to just kind of keep track and just kind of as the season flows on. I mean, we're only 22 games in, so we're still very early.
About a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that they will figure it out as well. I mean, the fact they're 12-10 right now with, still figuring things out. Ingram's getting the flow of things. He had 30 last night. Herb Jones, he's been playing very well. Trey Murphy also had a good game last night. So they're competing. They're still playing well, considering that, there's still things they have to figure out. But I agree. I think that this is a team that they're good enough to be able to figure it out. Teammates, players will sacrifice certain roles, whatever, to make it work. Because I think at the end, like they were the 1 seed last year, if they do, play as a team and they figure out like who has what role, they can be special. So we'll see how that progresses, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the in-season tonight. I think they go to Vegas on Thursday, so we will get our final matchups then. But all right, let's move on from the in-season tournament. We talked about that for a little bit to start the show. Let's talk about something funny, something juicy, something interesting that happened a few days ago. So Mr. LeBron James and Rockets head coach Ime Udoka got into a little, I don't want to say altercation, but they exchanged some words on the sideline.
Verbal spat.
Exactly, took the words right out of my mouth. Where it ended up with Ime Udoka getting ejected for it. No one really knew what the conversation was about or anything like that. And then the next day, of course, there was a leak of what was actually said, the transcribed, all that stuff. And apparently, Ime Udoka was throwing the B word around, as all these analysts have been saying on TV the last day or two. And LeBron took offense to it, and Ime Udoka's like, "What are you gonna do about it? You gonna do something?" And the ref came in, teed him up, threw him out, and that was that. So, I mean, do you think I don't think that that's something that should lead to an ejection. I mean, it's just two guys, two grown adults talking or whatever. Like, I don't think, from what it seemed like, from what I read, it didn't seem like Ime was like calling LeBron that word. It seemed like he was just like telling him to stop like bitching or something like that. Do you think Ime Udoka should have gotten ejected for this? Do you think this is something that just kind of got overblown or whatever, or do you think that it was justified?
It's definitely overblown. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally like watching the game live and just seeing it happen. Looking at like the assistant coaches' reactions on the Rockets sideline, where everybody's mouth.
Even some of the players came over and was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Like no matter what Ime might have said or calling LeBron the B word, or if he just used it in a tense of like quit bitching. I mean, sure,
Mhm.
like yeah, whatever, tee him up. I mean, like it's not like a coach and a player are really going to scrap like that. I wouldn't think. And every memory that I have of a coach and a
Ime
player.
Udoka looks like a guy that would that is looking for a fight. I don't know. He seems like that guy that would start swinging if he
I
had a
mean,
chance.
maybe. All I know is it just kind of set Ime up for failure because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these coaches that are around his age, like even Darvin Ham, they played against LeBron. And when you do something to LeBron, your highlight tape gets put out of you basically getting
I
told by
was
him.
I was gonna say on Instagram, like later that night, the next day, it was pictures of LeBron playing against Ime Udoka, and I'm like, oh, I get why Ime was talking shit. He's probably pissed of all the times that LeBron probably ran him over when he was defending him.
It's PTSD maybe, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I personally, I don't even really care. I thought it was funny, especially with
Yeah.
it being talked about on mainstream media, like even on First Take, with Shannon saying, "Oh, Ime
Oh,
Udoka doing all that." He
yeah.
talking about, man, this Michelle Obama said, man, they take the low road, take the high road. I'm taking the low road. I'm going to the basement, and I'm like, wow, like it's hilarious. This is
Yeah.
literally just a little ruse that you know we had some fun in the middle of the turn of the season. It's cool, I guess. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like I was watching the replay of it on Twitter when the clip went out, and I'm watching it. I'm just like, what happened? I was like expecting like there to be like a legit altercation. I'm like, oh, there was nothing happened. I'm like, what? That's kind of weird that he got ejected for that. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just one of those things where it's like an NBA ref just kind of got a little excited and just kind of did that. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, you said it." Oh, he's like right in the corner, like waiting for him to say it or something. And yeah, and it's just it was a funny talking point, a funny topic for these shows, and we never really talked about it. But I just want to say, Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp together, great TV, phenomenal TV, phenomenal.
I mean, that's what we expected out of those two gentlemen, man.
I just don't even I have it like on in the background sometimes. I'm not even like actually watching it. I'm just listening to it, and I don't even need to watch it. Like I hear like Shannon Sharp freaking out like into his high pitched voice, and like I can imagine like what he looks like and like his expressions and stuff. It's great. Those two are perfect for each other.
Hey, best Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp is probably like the best like one liner kind of innuendos, lingos, or whatever it is. Because if they go low, I'm going to the basement is one of a kind, and I'm not going to say anything like too provocative. But that quarter to three thing, if you know kind of situation, there's a lot that Shannon Sharp says that man he could just write a book of like how to.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
But
oh yeah.
anyway,
Shannon Sharp's a national treasure.
right?
That's just a known fact. But anyways,
Just in
let's stick.
general, with the whole Ime Udoka thing,
Mhm.
I think all of that just lies on the ref. Like, how serious do you find this situation? It's in my mind, it's two competitors just going at it. Maybe LeBron did feel some type of way. Maybe the ref took the player side, took LeBron's side in this instance.
Right.
Were like, I
Right.
need to protect the player from any more verbal abuse. So let's get him out of here. I don't know.
How old is? Oh no, Ime Udoka is 46. Okay, I was wondering what the age differential was between him and LeBron, but yeah, no, that just the ref got a little excited. He just decided to got whistle happy, and then that's all that was. So it just turned into one of the highlights. When the season ends, that'll be one of the highlights people remember when Ime Udoka and LeBron went back and forth.
Everybody was saying LeBron was talking shit about Nia Long.
Yeah, and then I was seeing all these things about Neil Long and stuff like that, and I was just like, yeah, this just turned into a big meme at this point.
Yeah.
That's all it turned into. Second to LA, though, we'll go and talking about the other team in LA, though. Jerry, oh my God, your favorite team. Your favorite team, the LA Clippers. The LA Clippers. And things still really aren't sorting themselves out there. And I feel like this is going to be something that we're going to have to keep talking about and keep revisiting. The Clippers, are 6-8 since trading, for James Harden. They're 9-10 on the season. And PJ Tucker, who just got traded there with James Harden as well, had this quote where he said, "There's not enough basketballs on the planet for this team." And PJ Tucker also, I was looking at his stat line from the last 10 games or so. A lot of did not plays, a lot of donuts, a whole lot of nothing coming from PJ Tucker. So, Jerry, did the Clippers fuck up? I'm just gonna just honestly, did they fuck up? Because I've said this when they made the trade. I was like, I don't think they needed to make that trade. I said the last few weeks. I don't know if the Sixers look like they got more out of it than the Clippers. And I'm sitting here now, Jerry, and the only thing I can think of is that the Clippers really may have fucked up. They really may have.
Oh, no, big time.
Yeah.
It's probably, I feel like they're in a situation where we have to wait and see because, they're hanging around in the middle of the pack, but they're low-key falling towards the bottom, after each game. And then we look at everybody's stat line. Well, PG had 30 this game, but James Harden had
Right.
6 points.
It's always this guy did this, but this guy did this. And
PJ's right. As I'm going to take his word for it because, hell, he's a player. Not only is he a player, but he's in the locker room. And not only is he in the locker room, he's on the court sometimes, or at least on the bench, seeing all this stuff unfold. And he's never been a part of a situation like this. Hell, a lot of people probably haven't been in. The only 4 all-star team I could think of with legit guys that were featured options or just the main guy on their teams was the Lakers in 2004 with Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Kobe, and Shaq, where it was you had 2 old heads that were, we did this before. No, they don't have championships or didn't have championships for GP's case, but they still were. Karl Malone was a go-to option for 20 years, and Gary Payton was the head of the snake for good Seattle teams, and then an important piece for a Miami team a couple years later. But seeing this version, there is all these guys are perimeter centric. All 4 of them. PG, Kawhi, Russ, and Harden all made their living and killing off the perimeter, and they had the ball in their hands primarily for pretty much all their careers. Maybe with the exception of Kawhi, because that was probably the last person to get the keys and be like, you're our go-to guy. But still, he made a killing in San Antonio before he got hurt. Then obviously in Toronto, he won a championship. He was the guy. James Harden, oh my gosh, pretty much once he got to Houston, it was unleashed, right? We saw the best version of James Harden, 30-point triple-doubles, 60-point triple-doubles. The guy was awesome. Same thing for Russell Westbrook. Unleashed, got to do his thing once KD and Russell were gone.
Paul George had his top 3 season in Oklahoma City. Went off.
And that was, I think most guys are accustomed to, I could play with one other star. And maybe three men.
Yeah,
But 4 perimeter-centric stars. It's hard.
And obviously, on paper, you look at a team like that and you think of it, and it's oh my God, Westbrook, Harden, Paul George, Kawhi. Yeah, sign me up, right? But then you look at the little details here, and it's Harden 34, Westbrook 34, 35. Paul George and Kawhi are still, younger than that. And Ty Lue said it it's hard. It's hard telling four-star players to change their play styles.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something, Tyler. Someone's got it. I was like, to make this work, like genuinely though, like we're laughing, but like if they genuinely want to make this work, they can't keep playing the way that they are. Someone needs to make a sacrifice. Westbrook already did by going to the bench, and that clearly hasn't fixed much. Something else needs to happen. What that is, no clue, no idea. But I'm really am in the camp that the Clippers really did just like blow up their chances to win a championship this year. Because before this trade, they were a favorite to win a championship.
Yeah.
They had a complete roster. They had everything that they... And also, Kawhi and Paul George, I think... I read this like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, unless it's changed the last few days. They've both played every game this season.
Yep.
So if you told me this a few years ago or before this year started that Kawhi and Paul George have played every game this season and the Clippers still aren't in the play, they're a play-in team right now and they're half a game ahead of the 11th seed, I would think that you're crazy. But then I look at the roster with James Harden and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? They really fucked up, dude. They really fucked up.
I mean, I agree.
And also like Harden's on a contract. All these other guys are like on long-term deals. This, like the Clippers, could go back to being in mediocrity in a year. Yeah. They could go back to being at the bottom of the West. They just announced they're building a whole new arena. They're moving and everything, and now they might lose all their stars. Terrible.
Hey, I called this. Whenever the trade went down and all that, we both agreed this was a bad trade. We both didn't really see the way that it was going to work. And the only optimism I had for him is that maybe it gels way down the road. But if it doesn't, I said if they don't get to the Western Conference Finals or if they don't get to an NBA Finals, this team is going to be broken up like a puzzle that you completed after you took 3 hours to build it. And that's exactly what's going to happen with these guys.
Well, it's like it's been a 5-year thing with Paul George and Kawhi, and you finally get to the point where we can do it, and then you bring in fucking James Harden, and it's like, why? What? I would be so frustrated if I was a Clippers fan, genuinely, because it's like I've been patient for years, and then we finally get there, we finally get something that works, and then you bring in this guy, and
that's the problem.
You said it. Like after this year, if nothing happens, they're breaking up. I still think James Harden's playing in China next year. I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it, dude. I don't think an NBA team's gonna want him. I think he's gonna get a bag in China. That's why I think he's going. But it's crazy, dude. I don't know. I wish I had a suggestion of how I think that they could resolve this. My suggestion is cutting James Harden, but you can't do that. So if you can't do that, then I'm out of ideas.
Man.
I'm out of ideas, man. I am.
I know how you feel about James Harden. It's been abundantly made clear by you that he is the problem. He's the cancer.
Yeah, he is.
Why the Clippers are sucking.
There was no problem before he came in. They were fine. They were okay.
I can't even blame James. I'm going to blame management for thinking that they needed this to happen, for needing it's like an addiction, right? Like, man, I don't mean to bring narcotics up on here, but like yeah, there's a druggie on the corner, man, and he's asking for $10 and you give it to him knowing what he's probably gonna go do with it. So GMs just have this addiction to wanting star players, and even when it's overkill. Because I'm a Laker fan. That
overkill
VP team.
That's a good way of putting it. Overkill for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. Like the Lakers do it every year. We have the GP team that I mentioned, but there's also the Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, and Kobe project, which probably lasted all of 16 games. Like you just want to keep, especially LA and New York teams. It's like, man, it's provocative. It just
they love it.
People going. Like we gotta keep moving.
They're addicted to it. They love it.
I can't even fathom that. Like how, I said, I don't know how Clippers fans feel.
I mean, I would be pissed at management too. So it's like, why? There was no set. There was no. You did not need James Harden.
No.
you didn't need James Harden. You had also, not for nothing, you had the Sixers right where you wanted them, and you still somehow gave them like a good return when you literally could have given them scraps for James Harden at that point, because that was an unresolved. That issue was going to get unresolved. They'd have to even touch that. They didn't have to go anywhere near it, but they did, and they gave the Sixers what they wanted, and now the Clippers are the dumbasses, it looks like. So, not the Sixers. The Sixers actually look smart. They actually look like they got out of, I didn't think that they would come out of this on the other side, where grass is greener. Man, that grass is beautiful, freshly cut, the smell of fresh grass, man. Sixers, man, good for you guys. You guys won.
We talked about it like before the trade even went down. We said once they trade him away, once they get some type of return, it's addition by subtraction. Yes, they got rid of the biggest name. They got rid of a guy that averaged 20 and 10. Hell, he could have probably been an all-star if he stayed in Philadelphia this year. Again.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he became, I can't even call him a cancer, but you got rid of a distraction that just wasn't necessary for a team that is trying to go out there and compete for a championship.
And now they're more of a team than they ever were. I get Harden had 20 and 10. He led the league in assists last year, but that's also because the ball's in his hands all the fucking time because he says he's the system, which is red flag number one. Now that the ball isn't stuck in a black hole like James Harden, you can move the ball around. You're seeing Tyrese Maxey, not Tyrese Haliburton, the other Tyrese Maxey in the East. He's fucking putting up crazy numbers. He's gonna be an all-star. He could be all NBA this year. Embiid is still having an MVP type season. They clearly don't need Harden. They never did.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody listening, watching on YouTube or listening on any audio platform, Dante does not fuck with James Harden.
No, I don't. I will be the first one to tell you. For years, I have been a notorious James Harden non-believer. I don't want to say hater. You could, but I'd say non-believer. And I just see through. I see through the bullshit. I see it. I've seen it for a long time, and I know it's fake. It's all bullshit with that guy. He's going to be in China next year, so we don't have to talk about it anymore. But this is the last topic. Let's talk about this. And this is the one time, all right, I just went on that tangent. This is the one time that I actually will be on the side of James Harden. So news came out, not news. Harden did an interview talking again about Daryl Morey and the Sixers and kind of asking what actually went down. And basically he said that he was promised a max contract and it wasn't given to him. And that's why everything went sour, everything went south. And that is why he is carrying the Clippers out in the West. So with this coming out and stuff, like one, did you think that this was like, I think in the back of my head, I feel like money is really like the center of all this. It's not about like loyal, nothing like that. It's really just about money. Did you think that this was like the main reason why? And, what are your thoughts on it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, overall, we were right. You remember we kind of assumed that over the summer when this was going down, we assumed that it had to be something where he was promised something by Daryl Morey. What else could Daryl Morey promise the man that he would want?
Money.
Yeah. At this point in his career, being 34, 35 years old, my last long-term deal to make sure that my financial freedom is promised, to make sure that I get my $30+ million a year. I just averaged 20 and 10. You said I was playing well all season. Whatever the conversation might have looked like during the season last year, I'm sure we both knew it had to be something tied to a max deal. Now, before you even go, before you slay him any further,
okay.
I know.
I'm pretty tired. I'm pretty out of breath. I don't know if I can do it anymore.
I knew that we all know that Harden was not worth $35 million plus for multiple years.
Yes.
But he was an important piece of your team, especially during the regular season, giving you 20 and 10, I think he led the league in assists last year.
Yep.
So having all these accolades, doing what he did for your team, I guess we could say Harden could have deserved some type of payday where it would have made sense. But you fabricated on your word. So with you
can.
No, I don't care.
Once you break your word and that trust, then it's out the window. You're throwing it out the window. You can't resolve it. And I understand. I get why Harden, they get upset. Why it went down. I get it. That's justifiable. Did he deserve the money? No, but
all right. We're not talking about deserves.
Yeah, you said it. You said it already. All right, but all right, that's all we have for James Harden. That's all we have for topics, really. Do you have anything else you want to add? Anything that we may have missed? We may have missed this episode.
I don't think so. I think for now we're covered for NBA. It's still a slow grind anyway. Shout out to the Timberwolves for still being the top dogs. right
Yes,
now
sir.
out west doing their thing. But yeah, I think we're kind of good. Oh, what we did miss was the Warriors, and how disappointed I am in them.
Yeah,
We, we,
talk to us.
we
Go
can
ahead.
talk, we can talk more about that next week. Just so it's a lot going on in Golden State that I think we need to be hitting the panic button. Like on a scale
Hey,
of 1 to 10, you need to be pushing that 8 or 9.
yeah, they're the 11th seed right now. They're not sitting pretty right now. They have had a lot of guys that have been underwhelming this year. Klay Thompson has not looked like Klay Thompson. Andrew Wiggins does not look like Andrew Wiggins. Steph looks like Steph, but
Always.
but it seems that he can't do it himself this time. So, yeah, I wonder if they're going to make any moves. It sounds crazy, but I've been seeing some people talk about whether or not they think the Warriors would actually trade Klay Thompson. Before, like, are they going to give him a contract? If not, could they ship him out before he leaves, before he walks in free agency? They let him walk. Like, is that a possibility?
It has
It
to.
would be a shit. It should be a possibility, but that would be a shitty way to end the dynasty. That's for damn sure.
I mean, the dynasty's already over. Like
It is over, but just like you know,
I'm on the
you
side of where we could see where they put so much stock into the young guys, right? Into the new pieces that came in, and Wiggins, and even in Jordan Poole,
Moses Moody.
Moses Moody, James Wiseman was the top pick that was supposed to carry out the franchise. That didn't pan
Coming
out.
out.
So the replacements that they had just haven't lived up to the hype of where we thought they were gonna be. Like Wiggins played well enough against your Boston Celtics in the finals in 2022 to where I just knew this was going to be the guy to replace Klay Thompson as the best two-way player, taking the opportunity to guard like a Luka or a Booker or Anthony Edwards or whoever, the best perimeter scorer, just like Klay did back in the day. But I don't know what
Fast
happened to Andrew
forward,
Wiggins.
yeah,
I don't
Fast forward a year and a half, he is not that player anymore.
know. And he still has athleticism, but he should be a 20 to 25 point scorer on this team, but he's not.
He should.
So
Yeah, you'd think.
conversation
Yeah,
for another episode.
we'll see. We'll see how the season plays out in Golden State. But through 20 games, they are 9-11, so they are not looking too great. But yeah, we'll talk more about them in depth next week. And I think that's all we have. I'm looking at some accounts. Nothing new came out, so I think we are in the clear, Jerry. I think we are in the clear for Pau Gasol episode number 16. The greatest episode in sitting courtside history.
Hey man, best one yet, man. The PG episode, the real PG.
Yes, sir. And then next episode is going to be the Andrew Bynum episode. I can't wait.
Oh, goody.
Number
Thank the Lord.
17.
Let's do it. Let's keep going deeper down. Well, before we go, a parting shot, just, for what's on my mind and what's been on my mind the past couple of days. Florida State not making it in to the college football playoff. I just need everybody to realize what Primetime said is legit.
I don't really follow this stuff. What did Primetime say?
So what Primetime said is that how are you going to leave out either Alabama or Georgia, especially Alabama, with Nick Saban being this figurehead, the GOAT in college football, that even if you don't follow college football, everybody knows about Alabama and what Nick Saban has meant to that program. So to beat the number one team in the nation, do you really think that Alabama wasn't going to make it? And as for Texas being in, they beat Alabama. So since they won their conference championship game as well, this makes sense to go ahead and put the both of them into this thing. Hey, Florida State lost their quarterback and Jordan Travis. It didn't make sense. They weren't the same team. The offense looked stagnant. It looked ugly to watch, especially the ACC title game. I turned it off because I didn't even know what I was watching, to be honest with you. So I understand Florida State was undefeated, but dog, you guys are not fun. And they're playing Georgia in a bowl game, and I think Georgia's a 14-point favorite.
Yeah. I don't follow college football too much, but I did see the outrage from some people. Well, hey, next year we're going into that 18 playoff format or something like that. 12 teams. So yeah, I think so. People will. I think whatever people are upset about teams missing the playoffs this year. That next year they don't have to worry about that anymore because they're going to get 8 more teams. So
Yep. It'll be all right.
a big jump. But all right, I think that's it for us. Just like always, please make sure to like, subscribe, check out all the other videos on this platform. Check out our shorts as well for some gamified videos. Like I said last week, moving forward, we're just doing the episode, the podcast stuff for the long form, and then you can still watch the games and stuff in YouTube Shorts. You can also check those out on TikTok as well. Follow us sitting courtside. If you want to listen to, if you're on YouTube, great. Like I said, like, subscribe. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, please make sure to follow, 5-star rating, all that good stuff. Head over to YouTube, like, subscribe, check us out everywhere. All right, just support us on all these platforms, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. Our socials are on the screen. And I feel like I should have this like written down or something, like a rundown to close the show or something. I think I hit everything. Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, like I said, till next week, the Andrew Bynum episode, the first and last time we'll probably bring him up. Be on the lookout for that. Shout out to you, Pau Gasol. Shout out Andrew Bynum. Fuck you, James Harden. We'll see
Oh
you
my
guys.
God.
We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.